Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is Twist Gaming, where you get to play board games with us.
You didn't ask if we were live.
I know, it's amazing. So this is our honest review section, where we like to talk about the game we just did a spotlight of, which this evening was Stone Daze. We were joined with the lovely creators of the game, Sharon and Lior. But first, who are we? I'm Matt.
I'm Anne.
I'm Josh.
And we would like to point out that this stream and all of this week's streams are sponsored by Stone Daze. Shout out to them. They're currently live on Kickstarter, so go check it out if you enjoyed it. And if you didn't get a chance to watch the Spotlight section yet, if you're watching this on VOD, go back and watch it, because it came down to the wire, and it was actually a pretty exciting finish.
Yeah.
So first, we're going to talk about what we liked about the game, and then what wasn't our favorite, and then what we would change if given the opportunity. So, Josh, since you won, this is what we usually do, the winner talks about what they liked first, so why don't you take it away?
What did I like? There's a lot more strategy to it than it looks like. I didn't expect it to be such a heavy strategy game, but there is a lot of strategy and trying to read your opponent.
I gotta get something.
No, there's a tactical element of how you set up the board, and then there's how you're playing your characters.
Absolutely.
And where you're throwing your clubs in anticipation of where the other ones are going to move.
Right.
And it's just... So the last half of the game was me and Matt mind game.
Yeah.
Of what we're going to do. And that's why it took so long, because I'm like, Matt knows I'm just going to try to move forward. So he's going to throw the club there. And then I'm going to die. So I'm going to take a step back, because it's the last thing he'll expect of me. Or, like, I'm going to turn to my side and turn towards him and be like, wait, why is he turning towards his side?
And then we did the same thing. We turned towards each other.
Yeah, we turned towards... And then we did this weird little dance thing in the corner as we tried to take each other out.
Absolutely. I mean, on first glance, I did not expect this game to be so strategy heavy, and it was a pleasant surprise when we got into it that after the first round or two, I'm just like, oh... Okay, so I slowed down. I started to think a little bit more about my actions, and a big part of that is the management of your special abilities, which I really like. That you have these individual character special abilities, but you use them one time, and you've got 14 abilities that can be used, and you can only use 7 in total.
And here's the thing: if you don't use them all, and a couple of you guys die, then you don't have enough special abilities to use.
Then you're stuck using them for turning 180.
Yes.
So that's
things like that.
It's very interesting managing your abilities and your...
So we had this really weird setup. So we started really heavy on one side of the board in setup.
Yeah.
And I was slightly intentional on that to try to give my runners some free room. And you guys only had the Dragon Girl there, and you started moving some forces that way and started turning a few people to start shooting.
So that was my intention, though, is I wanted to leave the Dragon Girl there. I had a feeling that she would provide a little bit more of, the aerial support. Granted, it's a one-time use thing, but I thought it would be enough to kind of maybe scare you if I carpet bombed you there.
So I did that, and then once that was over, I kind of weakened. I wasn't very offensive. That was what my goal was.
You are very offensive.
Yes, I am.
Half out.
So we did that, and then we got to this point where you kind of had a little bit of forces on your side. And they were both facing kind of one of my guys, and then I had my third guy, which you finally realized was he was darting between the two of them, and you're like, no, I can't let that happen.
Right.
Let's kind of go and close in on him as well, trying to defend against the other two.
Right.
Which made that last little scene just a little bit...
It was interesting, for sure.
Interesting.
I would like to point out that these are beefy.
This
is not a cardboard component. It's a wood component. It's not even like, oh, this is a thin wood component. This is
that's half an inch, maybe a centimeter.
Yeah, it's thick.
Yeah, it's
really thick. So shout out to them for quality components there.
Did you say half an inch or a centimeter?
Yeah, those aren't near.
2.5 centimeters. There's an inch.
Yes.
So half an inch.
Half an inch is a little bit more than a centimeter. So it's in that range.
Okay. One thing is they supplied us with some of the prototype stands, so I'm really excited to see how the final ones turn out, because I think that would be a great thing to add. And the last thing that I want to talk about in what I liked about the game for sure is I love these boards. The movement boards. It's so simple, but it's so effective that it's a magnet that stays on there, so when they're standing up in front of you, they're not going to fall down. And it's not overcomplicated of what it is.
The components are incredibly innovative.
Yeah.
Granted, I haven't touched every game that's out there, and God knows that there's a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
But just so you know,
Yeah.
I haven't seen where you use the little pins as hit counters, and you get the magnetic boards. Granted, I have to admit, when I first saw the pins come out, my immediate thought was, I'm gonna stab myself. I was so anxious sticking my hands in to go and get the hit counters because I'm a klutz. I'm not very graceful. But it worked out well.
The bobby pins?
They're straight pins for
Straight
sewing,
pins.
yeah.
That's what they look like. It's the only little bit weird component.
It is odd, but at the same time, I think it's really fun thematically that it's
Yeah.
a bump on the head, and it's a
red-
little red welt that you're shoving on their head.
The
and
art
it's funny
style is
thematically.
cartoony, and it goes great with the art style.
Yeah, it's like you really do picture the cartoon bonk right on the forehead there.
Yeah.
Like I want a sound effect to make when I'm doing it. All right, so Anne, how about you?
I thought that the art style was really cute. The faces. I liked how each of the individual
Cute.
characters. You're such a goofball. Each of the individual character cards has their own art designs on them. It's another thing that I noticed with the Apocalypse too. It's the same thing with the play. I like when the player cards, it's just a little bit of change. It's like that small detail. You know they're paying attention to the details if they're going to make something just a little different for each one.
Well, and the nice thing too is that all the meeples correspond directly with the cards, so you know who you're dealing with. You don't. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And it's not, on top of that, they're not shaped the same. So the silhouette of the faces on each one of the meeples is different. So it's not just like the face got stuck onto, a meeple. They took the
Generic
time to carve out the wooden meeple that matches each character, which I thought was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
The stands was a cute idea. It was nice to be able to have two to kind of deal, with you.
Correct. So, like, if you wanted to play it by yourself, you can set up the two of them together, and then, as Anne and I were doing, because we were on a team together, strategizing, we split them up. I'm like, I'll take 4, you take 3. Let's get it done.
Yeah. The discs, the concept of the discs, I absolutely love the magnetic concept of the discs. They're getting redone, which I'm assuming is the finishing.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just going to be, it's nice that this game is really quality and that it's going to be an even better quality.
Indeed. So, Josh, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on there?
I think you guys hit mostly everything. It even came with some cool little
The burlap sacks to keep them in.
to put the teams in with the
And
clubs.
that definitely goes along the lines of the renewable.
Yeah, Taito Games is all about, one of their big missions is making eco-friendly board games, which I think is fabulous, and that's part of the reasoning behind not seeing a lot of the cardboard pieces. And like Lior and Sharon were saying when we were talking with them, it's probably the most difficult part of making a board game and making it eco-friendly, but they're really trying, they're putting in the effort to try and do that, which I think is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that I can buy a game, know that it's eco-friendly. Like that little bit of
Goes a long way.
yeah.
It's nice to know in the back of your mind. It makes you feel a little bit better about buying the game as well.
Yeah.
So then moving on to the part of the stream where we talk about what wasn't necessarily our favorite part of the game, any constructive criticisms we have, because what we would do a little different if we had the opportunity to. So, Josh, do you want to start this one off, or Anne, how about you?
Why don't one of you start off?
Sure. I'm sure, okay, so this is the first time playing the game, and I'm sure as with any game, the more you play it, the more you get a hold of the strategy, the better it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to see a catch-up mechanic put in towards the end of the game. I felt, even though this particular game came down to one with you and very last minute, as soon as I got kicked out, granted, okay, it's a 2-player game, so we could have split characters from there if I wanted to still stay in.
Correct.
But maybe it's rational, but I felt like these were my set of characters, and I felt inside like, okay, I'm out. I'm stepping away from the table. And I enjoyed seeing the rest of the game play out, but it was a little drawn out for me, and I feel like I would have had a lot more fun if there was like a catch-up mechanic, like, oh, you can spend an action to bring a character back into the game, or just something.
That's interesting.
Okay.
For me, let me think here, because I really did enjoy the game. I was gonna comment a little bit on the moving and turning, but I think that's definitely all just part of the strategy. It really forces you to think about your each individual moves. My biggest gripe, I'm gonna say, is that it's 2 to 4 player, and it's 2 teams. So if it's 4 player or even 3 player, you're gonna have 2 people on one team sharing characters, as we did.
Mm-hmm.
And the one issue that I have is that there's 7. The number of characters work. Don't get me wrong. I think that it was a really nice number of characters to have on the board, but just the fact that I know you can speak to this more because you have children, but if you tell your children to play together and one has 3 and the other has 4, I feel like that might be a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, I can.
I was an only child, so I was spoiled. I can't speak to that.
Was?
Yeah. But I think that if there was just an even number, it would have fixed that problem. And if the board needed to be expanded by like 1 grid space or even reduced by 1 to accommodate 6, maybe that's something to think about as well.
Yeah. That was one thing I was gonna mention, is that weird thing when you get to 3 and 4 player count, is you get a very weird split of characters. And you could work as a team and make it kind of more.
There is a comment from Leor. There's a stretch goal for an additional character.
Oh.
Okay.
So you go from 7 to 8.
They have already thought of that.
That'd be nice.
Okay. So there is that, but yeah, there's this weird kind of addition to that. Yeah, there's I don't know. Like I like the game. I like the strategy of the game.
Yeah.
I feel like I was missing something. I don't know what it is. Just my personal thought. Like, it was fun. I just feel like there was something missing. And I can't.
You
tell
were
what
missing
it is.
a wonderful teammate, is what you were missing.
Oh, I was all in. I don't know. Not to say I didn't like the game. It just.
It reminds me a lot of chess.
The individual space movement and like kind of
Having to think one step ahead of where they're going, especially because you're putting the clubs down first,
right,
and then they're moving into
right. And I'm curious as to how it felt for you playing all 7 characters by yourself, whereas I was controlling 4, and I noticed it was taking you longer per turn, and I completely understand why. Because there's more for you to think about and synergize with, where I kind of compartmentalized. And maybe we asked each other like once or twice,
hey, does this look good?
Yeah, why not? But if you were moving somewhere a little further away than I would have liked, yeah. But other than that, how was that playing 1 player?
There was a lot to think about in the process. That was one of the parts. Was like I need to think this, and I get very analytical.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, this is what I can do. This is what the other person can do. And I'm thinking chess wise. I need to think 3 moves ahead.
Yep.
What are they going to do?
Oh, I didn't even think
per
about
each
that.
character.
That's interesting.
And you're doing each character every single turn. Where in chess, you're only moving 1 piece a turn.
That's a good point.
Right.
So like to try to do that in your head, and that's like when I got down to when you got down to a smaller team, I was like, all right, I only have to worry about a couple scenarios now. I can kind of start original it. So I was I started off very offensive and just kept throwing, and I maybe I should be saying more defensive, because I didn't really move forward much besides on that one side.
Right.
The other side of my board, I was staying still and just kept tossing clubs at you guys, trying to take you out.
You were being more aggressive versus offensive, or vice versa. I don't know however you want to say that. You were trying to kill my people.
Yeah, I was just trying to take out your people. I wasn't trying to advance that much. I was like, all right, I'm just going to try to take out your people, window the field a little bit, so I don't have to calculate all that. And that might be just my thinking, and that overloads my brain a little bit, and just like, all right, this is... Because I love puzzles and I love strategy and stuff. It's just, all right, I really need to think about how I want to do this, because I'm going to kick myself if I do something wrong.
Right.
And it's nothing against the game. It's just my thought process.
I think that's inherent to any kind of strategy game like this.
And then one final gripe that I have is I have got big fat sausage fingers. So these are a little hard to grab for me, the bump on the head pieces. Other than that, I mean, I love the concept of them. I wish they were a more exaggerated
I agree with that, and I know you're saying because you've got the sausage fingers, The straight pins make me nervous. One, because I'm a klutz, and it's a miracle of God that I didn't stab myself with one of these. But two, when I'm playing with my kids, I have 2 little boys, and I'm surprised the two of you didn't do this. This is what happens. So if there was stop,
Exactly.
yeah, you're gonna see. So it would be nice to see something with a little thicker base to insert as opposed to the sharp straight pin.
That's understandable as
A
well.
miniature one of these for red top.
Actually, yeah, that would work
Now,
too.
Just to point out, it doesn't appear to be as pointy as an actual sewing pin.
No, they're flat.
However, just because
Come
it is
here,
cut
let me
metal,
stab you.
it is like a kid could make it hurt if they weren't paying attention.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's age recommendations on it.
Yeah, I believe it says 10 plus on
10
there.
plus.
That makes sense. Yeah, my children will still stab each other.
I mean, anyone's kids will probably stab each other because
Though-
that's what kids like to do.
Just to note, this is a prototype.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are making some changes in production. A few things that they outlined is the panel will be redesigned for better stability.
Mhm.
The disc will be redone. The rocks, especially the small ones, will only have one side printed
Yes.
and a bit more graphical adjustments. However, I'm not sure if they're changing anything with the pins, but we never know because this is a prototype.
Yeah. So that was just a little thing there.
The clubs are cute.
The clubs are really cute. I like them a lot.
Yeah. You can
Um,
make the pins wood too.
Yeah, the pins could
I
have been.
wonder what that would do to cost. Production cost.
It's a good question.
Yeah, I think that, the only other thing, and this is on the board, and this could be graphical work, is it's really hard to see the lines in the last row.
I have a question for you.
That's what I was about to ask. Now that you brought that up, the actual stones
Can you tell the
across
difference?
the board edge.
Josh is colorblind, for those of you who don't know.
Yes.
And that was actually my first concern when I opened it up, is that
They're not horrible,
they're
but
the same
they
shape.
can be a little.
You thought the yellow was gray, and you're not colorblind.
Did I?
Yeah. That one.
I'm blaming it on the glare. But
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this now.
I thought
We
that
have
the
the-
concept was really
The
cool.
blues and this are.
Because it's distance. The pattern marks distance. So
Right.
I could tell the kids, hey, if you're here, you can go to the green row here. That's great. I love that. I think it's really innovative. I think it's really smart. Gray would point it out.
Maybe have
With
something
such
that-
detail on things like the character cards being individualized, maybe not being the same shape would be helpful.
What would be cool is if it was on the board edge, and it was on all 4 board edges.
right,
Because when you rotate,
when
then
you
it's
ro-
completely
yeah,
useless.
When you
Oh, yeah.
rotated, we had that
I had to
issue
count.
where we didn't have that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you did rotate at one point, so I noticed that as well. Like I had to stop and think for a second, and I'll just count, which isn't that big of a deal.
Listen, but if it
You
was
get spoiled.
designed into the
edge.
border edge,
Almost like with chess, you have C5
Yeah, so-
or Battleship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
something like that.
you've
I
got
mean,
the
it just-
grids.
And it wouldn't need to be on all 4. You put it on 2.
but if you did it on 4, it would be a pattern that goes around the whole board. Like it wouldn't be
Like a design border.
like a design border.
Well, for example, I was on the far end one time, and I had to trace myself all the way back
Yeah.
here to see which. Josh and I were the ones on the
Yeah.
far end. You were dealing mostly
Yeah.
over here, so maybe
So
you
we're
didn't
over there,
notice
and
it
I'm
as
like,
much.
it's
Fair
easier for me to just. One of the lines are, they're not issue with the lines. They're slightly thin, and they can kind of start, especially with the lights here. They start to blend a little bit, so it's a little bit hard to.
We have a lot of weird overhead lights,
Yeah.
and you probably won't be playing with at home.
Yeah, but
You
just
mean everybody doesn't have a
the
home
sun in the
setup?
yeah. But no, it's more like, all right, I'm looking here, and then I'm not even sure when I get back over here if that was the row I'm in or not.
Yeah.
And that makes it hard. That makes it a little bit harder. Especially just the way we're sitting around the table. It's not normal, and it's just these are studio things, but the lines in the clans, the home row, whatever it is,
Yeah.
are very difficult to see, and I had issues seeing what spaces you were in
Yeah.
a lot of the time because
The lines blend in with the rocks a little bit, but you know what? You're right. As I start leaning over the board, like I would normally sit in a normal play area, that doesn't really appear nearly as bad as it is when you're kind of back and the glare's bouncing off at you. So I think that's partially our setup, but that's a little bit more definition the lines wouldn't.
just a little bit there, but that's just my little.
All right. So do you have any other?
I do want to circle back to one point
Oh, yeah.
regarding the pins. Leor shouted out and said for sure they will make sure that the pins are safe.
Okay.
So that is not going to be a concern in production, just to note that.
Fantastic.
And I think that's
You got everything you wanted to touch on there?
yeah.
So the most important part, sorry.
No, go for it.
Would you guys play this again?
Well, I guess I'm the first one that's closest
Yeah.
to you, right? I would definitely play this again. I really liked the strategic elements of the game, and at first I was afraid. I was petrified. No, I was afraid that it was going to be too light of a game. And Josh and I were discussing beforehand, and I'm like, oh, it says it's a 60-minute playtime. It doesn't look like it would be, just at first glance. But when you're playing, especially with the people that we play with here, I think this is definitely a fun game to play, and I'm going to give it a thumbs up. I would definitely play this again. How about you, Ann?
I would play it again. I'd play it with the kids too. I think that this would be a fun game. Michael, my oldest, he's 14. He really loves chess, and I totally got the chess feel from this game. I think that he would get a kick out of this game.
Very
And
cool.
Josh?
As I said before, if someone pulled this out, I want to play it, maybe. But I don't think I would. Personally, I wouldn't. It's just not my style game.
Understandable.
No, nothing against the game. It's just not my.
Personal style.
It's not my cup of tea.
We've all got our personal
You
preferences, so
drink
that's
too?
completely understandable.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, is there anything else that we wanted to say?
This is a dragon. I understand it now. If
Yeah.
you're a caveman and you saw this big flying thing,
Dragon.
you might think it's a dragon or a bird.
Yeah.
And I got the theme of it. I'm like, it's a pterodactyl because you was reading the rule book and I got it.
Pterodactyl.
It's a big scary
It's
dragon
a
to the
pterodactyl.
caveman.
Yeah.
It clicked for Josh.
It clicked for the caveman there. All right, so thank you all for joining us. We're going to do a sign-off now, but first we're going to, afterwards or before, we're going to do our
Let's do a soft sign off.
soft sign-off, and then we're going to do our giveaway. So for all of you interested, we're giving away a copy of this game graciously provided to us by the creators. So big shout-out to them. Thank you guys so much. Otherwise, thank you all for joining us this evening. What?
So if you're watching us on VOD, this is one of those really great reasons why you should tune in live, so that you can be part of our awesome giveaways.
This is why we keep
Special
you
plug.
around. All right, thank you all for joining us this evening. This is Twist Gaming's honest review of our Spotlight of Stone Days. Thank you guys so much. We would like to point out that this stream and all of this week's streams are sponsored by Stone Days.
Potato Games.
Indeed. So,
Matt on
Twist,
Kickstarter now.
yes, back him on Kickstarter now. TP, if you could put that link in chat one more time.
Absolutely.
And Twist Gaming signing off. I'm Matt.
And Anne.
I'm Josh.
Good
Night,
night, everyone.
Good night.